Hello, historical people and Order of the Blade people this time, because I can't be bothered talking about longsword all day. So we're going to do something fun. We're going to talk about shields. So I'll pick up the obviously most famous and world's favourite shield, the buckler, to begin with, because this is what we have sources for. Obviously, like, you go Renaissance, they've got the, what do you call it, Rotella, and then we see the Taj, things like that, so whatever. But realistically, if you come into this hashtag HEMA scene and you want to learn about shields, you'll probably pick up I-33 at some point and look at it and go, what the fuck is this nonsense? Okay, it's actually quite a good little source if you take it for what it is. You know, it is kind of a base of moves and a few pictures, and there's not a lot to it. Like I say, the Renaissance sources for buckler are a lot more. They go into like tactics and things, they go into loads of stuff. I've got a book somewhere on like Iberian swordplay, and that's got just a shit ton about buckler and rotella and things like that, which is really cool. I-33 is like, you can stand like this, you can stand like that, you can stand like that, you can do whatever you want. No one, this isn't a thing, by the way. But just before the purists kill me. But basically, yeah, your shield journey might start off looking somewhat like this. And I know I've heard Roland, is it? Like, chat about the fact that bucklers were probably used to train people how to use shields, which will make sense actually, because they're fucking heavy and you're not using that all day. You probably would piss about something like this. Okay. I-33 itself is all right. It's not a bad place to start. Okay. First starting position is the main thing that will throw you off. You can do it with most of your shields, and there's a few contrarias where you're like up here, or what are they? Bang, you got left covers, you got things like that that are just a little bit too fruity to do with the shield. It's really nice that the buckler's light, so you can cover angles like this. You can then move around like that. It's fine. You got good vision. So I know George Silver, he likes bucklers because he's like, I can see what's happening. I can fence very gentlemanly and all that crap. But the main thing with the buckler, and I have said this before, is it works off the concept of the cone of defense. Okay, easiest way for me to show you or explain that is look how much of me you can see when the buckler's close, look how much of me you can see when the buckler's further out. Okay, it takes these little angles off, so something that would hit me here won't hit me there. Okay, the buckler's in the way. Now, sparring with bucklers a lot and stuff, you know, it's not the be all and end all. Yes, that is a thing. If you're going up against someone who's untrained versus buckler, you can use all this cool knowledge to your advantage. But, you know, for the most part, once you get going, you take hits to the arms. They'll just get past that and all this sort of stuff. Just going like that doesn't save you. It's not a world of difference. You still use it kind of like a shield, just as like an area of denial, and hope that you're okay. Obviously, the buckler is supposed to go with the sword. This is what I-33 teaches you, because it protects the hand. That is true, but at the same time, with HEMA, no one even gives a shit about getting hit in the hand for the most part. They really should. It's just anticlimactic and nobody likes it. Okay, so first shield I'm going to talk about is, you know, the older version, the sort of Saxon Viking round shield. Now, these are fun. These are my favourite shield because they're just massive, and it gives you an extra 2 feet to just hit people with, which you've got to be careful with because they are heavy. But if we look at I-33, for example, here, you know, if I was to just lazily sit in the first contraria, I would be scuffing this up. When you're tired and that starts to slack, then you're getting caught up on yourself. Or if you just don't know what you're doing, you get caught up on yourself. But there's a lot you can do from here. Like a lot of the contrarians in the I-33 stuff, Walpurgis, second, third's a bit awkward because again, you got the mass. But if I'm up here and the shield's low, I've got the third, obviously the tail, and like, is it the sixth where it's hidden? We call it hidden serpent in the order, so it's all over the place anyway. And that sort of thing is all fine. You can sort of do your left cover contrarias a bit, but the shield's heavier. It takes a lot more training to getting anywhere near proficient with these things, and obviously flipping like that is a little bit harder to recover than with the buckler. Okay, so everything slows down with a round shield. Everything's bigger and slower basically when you get to this, and then because of the sheer size and because it's levered in the center, you have the problem of flap. Okay, it just turns in your hand. If I'm not holding this properly, or even if I am and I take a hit there, that's going to flip my shield. If they know what they're doing, they can take advantage of that. Very much like this shield's really good for kind of pinning your opponent's shield and having a bit of a kind of like what you see the Roland, I'm going to butcher his surname so I'm not going to try, sorry Roland, but what you see Roland doing, okay, where they're doing the little shield flappy fight things, there is a bit of space for that, but it doesn't really look like what they're doing. Like there's a lot more slamming and fighting into each other, but you can use this to trap the other shield and to like use it as a fulcrum on the other person's shield. Okay, we'll get to the slightly more fun one. I mean, let's face it, this is the best, this is the most fun. So anyone else that doesn't think so, then whatever. But another popular one is the sort of heater shield. Okay, so heater shield, I've only really recently been playing in the last year, been using this and sparring a lot more, and I used to try and use it just kind of like this. I even held the straps together to use it more like a buckler, but we've only got one strap configuration on ours really, so you are a bit limited. But the one thing you don't have with this is the same kind of ability to, I mean, you can punch it out, but what am I going to do with it? Still punch it out there, but again, this is, the leverage is like that. So it's a little bit odd, but I did find that for something like the i33, works really well for, because of the shape of it. It's kind of cut. If that's just pinned against me, I've got my first Contraria, my drawing of the sword, I've got my second easily enough, my third's completely unimpeded, and then this is just kind of moving to where it needs to defend, which is really quite useful actually. And then if I'm attacking, I can see quite a lot and just advance with this thing above my head. It doesn't really matter. I'm back to fencing. If something does come in, I can slam that down. So they're quite good really. In terms of fucking particular specialties and thoughts and whatever, they're fighting with this shield compared to this shield compared to that, is it all comes back down to your distance and your timing. Okay, that's pretty much it. People talk about getting in and wrestling with the shields. Yes, if you want, but I don't really understand that. Sometimes, to be fair, with a strap shield like this, it can be good to, as you've closed in and blocked someone off, maybe you can grab something and whatever. But when you've just got your hand on a center grip like that, it's not going to happen. Yeah, it's just, everything comes down to distance and timing. Okay, it doesn't matter if you read sources or not. If the other guy's got better distance management and timing, they're going to just school you. Okay, they'll be able to get around whatever you throw at them if they're not there to hit, but they can be there to hit you. Yeah. So yeah, basically, cool thing about the heater is it's shaped in such a way that your sword flows quite nicely. If I just have a little head tuck to defend myself, if it's down by the side, it's not in the way of anything. Only issue is when you start coming over this way, you're a bit more limited. You can't really do your left covers and bits like that. So limits you in certain ways. It's like anything, okay? Especially made to do a special job. So yeah. My favourite way to just use shields is as a fucking battering ram to open something up. Still parry with the sword. Don't forget, I hear people say, you defend with the shield, you attack with the sword. No, the sword is the main thing. You can still parry with the sword. Even if someone attacks me over there, I can parry there and then attack. It doesn't matter, okay? Your shield is a secondary, okay? So you can still use your primary. It's not a good idea to obviously sacrifice everything over here if you can help it. If you can just take that hit there and parry over here with this, great. You know, you still got your hanging guards. You can move over here. You can just move around. Okay, but you don't have to think that you only can defend with this. Likewise, you don't have to think that you can only attack with this. Okay, there is stuff you can do with the shields. Even just making a noise with it can be enough to distract someone to get in and do something. So don't limit yourselves. You've still got two hands. You're still just a hairless monkey. Like, you can come up with something, right? So yeah, I'll just start rambling in a minute. So that's fighting with shields. It's not rocket science. Just be better at getting in and out. Okay. I will talk about binding. I can't talk about binding really, because I need friends. But some people told me that you don't bind with shields, which is ridiculous. Okay. Whenever the swords cross, there's a bind. A bind is made. Whenever the sword touches the shield, a bind is made. Okay. It might not be the same as when two swords touch. Okay, we don't have the same levels of leverage and etc, etc. If my sword is here, I can still fold the shield. The sword's there. I can manipulate it in ways. If the sword comes out, I can attack the sword hand. There's things you can do. You can block with the edge of the shield, you know, and do stuff. Likewise, if I'm attacking a shield, I still have the same leverage advantage. So if my sword is on the edge, and there's a lovely guard called the Guard of Vidalpoga, Fiddlebow, which demonstrates a lot of this. So this is how the guard starts, but it can also be here. Okay, so you have two options, right? And notice the leverage on my shield there. The angle change. From here, I couldn't land a thrust. From here, there, I can easily land a thrust behind the shield, okay? That works the same the opposite way. So if I was to bind this side of the shield and then go into like a ox thrust, I'll go around the shield. My favourite move is to attack sort of low at the shield side and then just turn my wrist up and in. So you sort of wrap cut round and then just turn it in. And it goes nicely under and then round. So, like I say, it's not a bind in the same way that you would bind with two rapiers and fucking dazzle about each other. But the ideas of angles and leverage still apply. So don't chuck that under the bus, is what I'm saying. Right, before I make a half-an-hour video talking shit, I'm going to call it there. So hopefully that was useful. Thanks for watching. See you in a bit.